Now, Donald J. Trump is all set to take over as the 47th President of the United States of America in January 2025. Now, in a very controversial and hyped-up election, Donald J. Trump won a landslide victory, defeating the Vice President of the United States and the presidential candidate Kamala Harris.
Thank you very much. Wow.
Hey, look what happened. Is this crazy?
Donald Trump has been elected to a second term as president, defeating a resurgent Democratic nominee in Vice President Kamala Harris.
Now, as always, eyes of the whole world were glued to the US elections, its outcomes, and now anticipating the impact of Donald Trump again coming to power and the re-election of Donald J. Trump. Also, there is curiosity and nervousness regarding his return to office in many quarters, many sectors, many countries, and different people, different personalities of different spectrums in the world, in the society. We all know that the first term of Donald J. Trump was full of extreme reactions from the different parts of the world and within the US as well. Now the experts have started examining that what would be in store for different regions, especially South Asia, Middle East, and different countries like Russia, Ukraine, Iran, Israel, and different other countries. People have started examining, experts have started examining that what happens when Donald Trump assumes office again on January 2025. Now, in this backdrop, today we'll be trying to examine what would be the foreign policy of Donald Trump for South Asia in general and for India in particular when he assumes office again. Hello, my name is Preetpal Singh and you are watching Perspective. Now, given his experience of last term as the president, it is not surprising that every nation is busy evaluating what it may face from the US administration after Donald Trump comes to power. Interestingly, many articles on this subject have been using the word brace with respect to the countries which will have to deal with the new old occupant of the White House. Nearly all agree, and it is the view of the majority, that Donald Trump again will be unpredictable throughout this 4-year term and will maintain a transactional approach to issues and nations. Now, how will he deal with South Asia? That is the real question. And more importantly, the question is how he will be dealing with India as well. Now, in South Asia, the relationship of most consequence to Donald Trump will be that of India. Fortunately, the fundamentals of India's relationship with the US are very, very strong.
India's friend, the President of the United States of America, Mr. Donald Trump.
To every citizen across this nation, America loves India. America respects India. The life of Prime Minister Modi underscores the limitless promise of this great nation.
Both are having convergent security concerns, especially from an assertive and aggressive China. Now, Donald Trump's first term of president of US from 2017 to 2021 was marked as a significant shift in the foreign policy, characterized by an America-first approach. And there have been different areas or different arenas where the strategic partnership of India and US have been strengthened over the last many years. See, if we see the past trends, during his first term, Donald Trump reinforced US-India strategic partnership. There have several key developments included closer military cooperations, frequent high-level visits, that is when Donald J. Trump visited India in 2020 and there was a very big program organized in India, and when Indian Prime Minister PM Modi also visited US, and again a very eventful program was organized in the US stadium as well. Also, strengthening of defense ties, different defense agreements like COMCASA, that is Communication Capabilities and Securities Agreement. Also BECA, that is Basic Exchange and Cooperation Agreement for Geospatial Cooperation, and different other security agreements as well, which made India a strategic defense partner for US. Now, the likely impact of the re-election of Donald Trump is that Trump will likely maintain or even elevate or expand the trajectory of India-US relationship, as India has now become a key partner in US efforts to counter China's growing imbalance of power in Indo-Pacific region. The US may continue to provide India with military and economic support, viewing India as a counterbalance to China's assertiveness in the Indo-Pacific region and in the Asia-Pacific region as a whole. Now, we all are privy to this fact that relationship between US and India pre-2000 was not that great. But since the early 2000s, it has been marked with a strategic cooperation. It has been marked with shared interests in regional stability and a very deep economic collaboration as well. Also, US has recognized India as a key player in maintaining stability in South Asia, we have already discussed, particularly in China's growing assertiveness in the region, and also to establish a rule-based world order. So there are several reasons why India should be optimistic and why we all should be optimistic for India-US relationship. Now, if we see the trade and economic cooperation between India and US, there have been FTA negotiations, that is free trade agreement negotiations between India and US in 2019-2020, but they were stalled under the new Biden administration, and they might likely be revived under the Trump administration. Also, Trump and Republican Party, Donald Trump and Republican Party, they have generally prioritized the selling US oil and natural gas over the aggressive climate change and renewable energy policies of US. Thus, Trump is expected to again encourage India to buy US oil and LNG, as which was seen in 2019 Driftwood LNG deal, which was shelved later on. Also, unlike Biden administration, Trump's administration would likely avoid pushing India on democratic norms, on media's freedom, on minority rights, on press freedom, and on human rights issues as well. Trump administration might not press India on these issues, which Biden administration was pressing India since the starting point. Also, India will face fewer concerns in relation to Foreign Contribution Regulation Act, which restricts foreign funding for NGOs, or criticisms over the treatment of climate and human rights organizations. Also, several extremist organizations, in tackling those organizations outside our country, operating outside our country, and harmfully impacting India's interests in the world and India's domestic interests as well, Donald Trump might be a very dear supporter of India in this regard, and might not side with the extremist organizations, which the current Biden administration and the current administration of Canada were not that cooperative with India in this regard. Rather than that, they leveled charges against India for meddling into the internal affairs of US and Canada. Also, we all know one thing, that Donald Trump supported India during the LAC conflict which we had with China, that is line of actual control conflict which we had with China, in a uniquely proactive manner. Sharing US intelligence, they shared US intelligence with us, they leased out drones to us, and also supplied us winter gear, and in an approach which is very distinct from the previous US administrations. So this also demonstrates the willingness to go beyond the traditional diplomatic gestures and prioritizing tangible assistance in the time of needs with respect to India and US. Also, how can we forget the strategic partnership of India and US to counter the balance of China? Whether it be formation of Quad, or 2+2 security dialogue, or different other dialogues of India and US as well, or naval exercises of India and US as well, the main aim is to establish a rule-based world order and to ensure that the Indo-Pacific is free, secure, to be used by everyone freely. So in this case, US definitely views, and Trump administration definitely viewed, India as a very important and key ally. And this partnership was continued in Biden administration as well, where Indo-Pacific strategy of Biden's administration was aiming to bolster India's role as net security provider and a regional leader in the South Asian region. Also, in a regional cooperation sense, several joint initiatives such as Millennium Challenge cooperation projects in Nepal and support for Sri Lanka's economic recovery, it illustrates growing cooperation, growing regional cooperation. And similarly, Biden's administration's passive relationship with Pakistan after withdrawal from Afghanistan has helped India and the US to foster a mutual vision for this particular region. Since we've already talked about India and US being militarily and defense-based cooperation being very robust amongst the two, India has been designated as a major defense partner for US, allowing India to assess the advanced military technology and apparatus and equipment of US. Now, this status also reflects India's commitment to deepening defense ties with US, which are seen as essential for our regional security. Now, if we talk specifically about economic cooperation and collaboration, recently 2023 data shows that India and US is having $128 billion in trade. Now, with both the nations focusing on enhancing the economic ties even more, and where US is trying to substitute the imports from China, India can be a very viable partner for US to import its product and substitute the imports with respect to China. Also, you have seen initiatives like United States-India Strategic Clean Energy Partnership as well, the potential revival of discussions of FTA, and all these things could even strengthen the economic relationship of US and India even further. See, we should not forget one thing, that it was under the Trump administration only where Quad, that is Quadrilateral Security Dialogue, was revived, where India, Japan, Australia and US, they came together for providing a very balanced and secure Indo-Pacific region. Also, promotion of joint military exercises and technology transfers have again helped both of the relationships. So till now, we have seen the positive trajectory of US relationship with India. But despite this positive trajectory, there have been certain challenges as well. See, first is in relation to human rights concerns. See, US has expressed concerns over India's human rights record, particularly regarding its treatment of minorities and its foreign policy choices that align with the authoritarian regimes. See, this scrutiny can strain relations if perceived as interference in India's domestic policy, India's domestic affairs. For example, Biden administration was wary of India's relationship with Sheikh Hasina in Bangladesh and a pragmatic arrangement or agreement with the military junta in Myanmar. Also, there have been several geopolitical tensions also. See, India's historical ties with Russia, they complicate its relationship with the US. India is a very strong and old-age friend of Russia, and the US and Russia are not in best of the terms. And India's close cooperation with Russia has not gone well with the US. And it got even worse when India started importing oil from Russia in larger amounts after the Russia-Ukraine war took place. So sanctions against Indian firms who are dealing with Russian companies collaborating with US have also raised concerns in India about the economic repercussions. And if Donald Trump comes to power and if he elevates these concerns, it might be problematic in the relationships and it might be problematic for India as well. Now, another important issue which we might have with Trump administration would be with tariff related issues and GSP related issues. See, Trump's push for cutting trade tariffs could reignite trade disputes, especially with China and India. As seen during the first regime of Donald Trump, India has faced counter tariffs from US multiple times during Trump administration. And there was also the loss of GSP, that is Generalized System of Preferences, that is GSP status, and there were complaints at the WTO as well, World Trade Organization as well, against India. That is, India is involved in unfair trade practices. Now, if Trump resumes similar trade policies, then India's exports might face fresh challenges again. And it might be difficult for India to navigate in such a situation. Also, one more thing which we must not forget is US tensions with Iran. See, US and Iran are having tense relationship with where US says that Iran is trying to develop a nuclear weapon. Now, India and Iran's relations are very good. And Trump's confrontational stance on Iran during his first term pressurized India at that point of time to cut oil imports from Iran, which if now done would be problematic for India. Now, while future policies on Iran might shift for the US, India could still face similar pressures, particularly if Trump seeks to re-engage with Russia, affecting its oil and energy security. So in this case, with the relationship of US with Iran and relationship of US with Russia, since they are problematic, it could negatively impact the energy security of India to a very, very great deal. So the point is that despite the positive outlook which we just shared, challenges still remain regarding trade immigration policies, Trump's history of imposing tariffs, and skepticism towards H-1B visa program. So there is one trade-related issue, one oil importing issue from Russia and Iran, and one issue in relation to immigration. Also, recently his statement on BRICS currency, that if any country goes for de-dollarization, they will face similar consequences or drastic consequences. The statement by Donald Trump is definitely not going to go well if we went on with our de-dollarization policy, if RBI, that is Reserve Bank of our country, goes on for de-dollarization steps. And this could create tensions in economic relations, especially for sectors reliant on skilled Indian labor for US. Now let us quickly understand what would be the impact on India's neighborhood. We've already discussed about Pakistan. See, Pakistan might experience the loss of US support under Donald Trump, especially in relation to loans from IMF, International Monetary Fund, and the World Bank. Also, Trump's previous decision to cancel US aid to Pakistan in his first term could also be repeated. So for Pakistan, Trump administration might be very tricky. For Bangladesh and the region, they could face scrutiny under Trump, especially regarding the protection of Hindu minorities and what is going on against Hindu minorities in Bangladesh region after Trump's social media posts criticizing Dhaka's treatment of minorities. Also, South Asian nations like Nepal, Bhutan, Maldives that were quoted by the Biden's administration might be concerned about the lack of attention from the Trump administration, so that might also be a likely outcome. But definitely, Donald Trump will have a very great role in intervention and ending war which is happening in Gaza, that is Israel's war in Gaza and Lebanon, and reviving the talks with the Gulf countries to aid India, Middle East, European Economic Corridor, which has currently stalled. Now, while India overall stands to gain strategically with Trump 2.0, it should remain cautious of the challenges it will pose. And in this scenario, proactive engagement and measured diplomacy will be essential to maximize the benefits and to manage any disruptions efficiently. And definitely our External Affairs Minister, Shri S. Jaishankar, is equipped enough to manage and tackle all the nuances and any complications which might arise after Donald J. Trump comes into power. So it is for us to see that what happens next and what is in store after Trump comes to power for India and for South Asia. Currently, what we can do is anticipate and guess. I hope you gained a new perspective from the session. What do you think how this Trump administration is going to fare for whole of India and South Asia? Do let me know in the comment section. Please engage in a very healthy debate. All the very best and have a great day. Thank you.